All right, guys, we're back for the really final episode of Talking Preps. Chris talked us into doing this show. We don't normally do a post-championship show. It's the first one we've done, I think, in the 11 years, however long it's been since we've been doing this. But I appreciate that, Chris. I don't have to ask you what round it is because we're in round X.
We're in the preseason.
We're going to talk about a little bit of preseason stuff. So we got a busy show ahead. Going to have a little fun. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll start right on the backside of this. Well, we start off every show with the same question, Mr. Chris. What caught you out this weekend?
Well, a lot of things, but I guess the interesting one, I'm trying to think of how I want to word it, but would be the state championship at different venues other than the traditional NC State, UNC, Wake Forest, Duke, so on and so forth. I think this trial run of playing championship games at Durham County Stadium at Lenore-Ryan, I think that was an eye-opening experience for good and for very bad reasons. There was definitely some growing pains and some sharp learning curves for our state association leaders to learn from to try to make it better next year. But I think that is a major story. And then, of course, just some incredible action on the field. Awesome to see 8 championships crowned over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary, something that caught my eye today. The New York Jets fired defense coordinator Steve Wilks, former Carolina Panthers coach, our frat brother, the Omega Psi Phi. West Charlotte needs a football coach. Should they try to hire a former Lion?
I never believed that a school should make their number one priority hiring an alum. I think that fails more often than that succeeds. But I think if all things are equal, hiring an alum is good if that's the tiebreaker in your selection process. As far as Steve is concerned, I can't see him wanting to come home and be in a school building all day. I just can't see that. I could be wrong. I'm thinking he probably wants to come home and decompress and, spend the holidays with his family and, sort out what his next step is going to be. And I don't think West Charlotte would be in that top 3, but I could be wrong. I know he loves West Charlotte.
I was shocked when Mo Collins took the West Charlotte job, and that was a home run hire. Unfortunately, Mo passed away, but I thought that everybody loved him. The team was turning around. He was doing a little bit what Griner had done. So I don't know. But, I mean, there's another name you had mentioned to me as well.
Yeah. Prior to you mentioning Steve, last week, some West Charlotte alums called me about Everett Withers. And, I approached Everett about it. And
you're trying to get all the Omega Psi Phi on the West Charlotte staff.
Yeah, it caught him off guard too. But he's another one. He loves West Charlotte.
Yeah.
He just retired from coaching college and NFL football, just like Steve.
Yeah.
He was in the NFL for almost a decade and college football for over 25 years. So, this was his first year in retirement. We spent a lot of weekends hanging out together. The funny thing about it, he's coached, the NFL and college all these years. And this was the first time he'd ever got to go to a tailgate. He had never been to a tailgate.
Well, he's always coaching.
Yeah, it's always coaching.
That's kind of like my life. I don't get to go to tailgates.
Yeah, and he absolutely, he's like, you do this every weekend? I said, well, when I go to the game, this is what we do.
It's a whole different life. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a ball. I think we hung out about 4 or 5 weekends, this fall, going to different college games and to Panther games, tailgating. And, and then he called me Thursday night and he was like, some people from West Charlotte have contacted me about taking the West Charlotte job.
Yeah.
And his family still owns a house right around the corner from West Charlotte. And I say, would you do that? And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
They got posters up in University Park and down Bettisford Road about let's hire Everett Withers, But I just don't know if he wants to, leave the beach. He's living down at the beach now. And I don't, like I told him, I was like, do you really want to be in a school building for 8 hours a day?
Yeah. It's not just coaching like it is in college.
Yeah, they got one of them would have to be in that building. They can't just show up at 2:00.
That's right.
And start coaching.
That's right.
If
we've seen Captain Mark. I was curious though, Hales, from a coaching perspective, does West Charlotte need to make a splash hire, or can they go get kind of a guy that doesn't have a big name, a big resume?
No, you don't need to make a quote unquote splash hire. You need to hire the right person for the job, and if that means it's a big name, that's a big splash, then great. If it means it's, somebody who's going to be a head coach for the first time, then great. As long as you get the right person for the job, because I think we've all seen examples of, splash hires gone wrong.
Yes.
So no, I think, like I say, you got to find the right person for the job.
I was waiting for you to grab your hoodie, but you don't have it on. Chris, Chris, you think Everett Withers would be a good hire for West Charlotte?
I do. I had a chance to sit with Gary and Everett Withers at the West Charlotte versus Grimsley game beginning of the year. Sat there with the two of those guys for a long time and talking football with him and, walking through the sidelines with him and listening to not only, his insight on the game and different things, the community, listen to him talk about UNC, West Charlotte, but, he's forgotten more football than I've ever known. And I think I know a little bit of football and it just goes to show when you're around a true football guy like that, he's amazing. Obviously he knows about connecting with the kids, the relationships. If he could get the school building part done, working with administration and, being a conduit to helping those kids thrive on the athletic fields as well as academics and moving them on into adulthood, then, yeah, it would be a home run.
I could see maybe hiring a co-head coach to kind of be in the building, let him come after that. Jim, we were talking at the state championships this weekend, and the interesting thing came up, and I heard it from 3 or 4 different people. They were saying the NCHSAA should use some of its endowment fund to buy an existing or new facility, a multi-use facility to host the state championships in, to eliminate this issue of where we're going to play. What do you think about that?
The first thing is you always have to look at the funding of the association. There are 3 buckets of funding. First thing is unrestricted funds where they can spend money on anything they want to.
Correct. And
then there's designated funds where the association or maybe the legislature has designated a certain amount of money to go to somewhere, and that money can be redesignated, mind you. And then there's restricted funds, which are the endowment funds, where they have to be spent only in a certain way, and you cannot unring the bell with restricted funds. As an accountant, I've had an audit.
This is why I gave you this question.
Yeah, exactly. And as an auditor, I've had to audit these organizations and make sure that they spend the money the way that the money has been restricted in the first place. That goes back to, is the money, can that money be spent in that way? And I really don't know. It might be a hard argument to make on that. It's something that I really don't have the knowledge to tell you whether it can or cannot be spent in that way. So if it's allowable under restrictions, even then I might have a little bit of a trouble with it, unless it's just maybe it's a co-payment with some type of fundraising arm of the association. But besides that, I just really can't give you too much more insight.
Cam, what would you think about such a thing?
I think it would be. If you take all the divvying of funds out of the equation, I think having it at one central location, at least from a media perspective, would make things a lot easier. All the championships are going to be at one venue. And I think if I remember correctly, when you and I were talking to the individual that brought this idea up, he talked about you could have not only football there, but you could make it a multi-use facility with have basketball football there, baseball there, so you could have all state championships in one location. Now, it would take a while. I mean, if you're going to build a facility the right way that could house all these things, it would cost a lot of money, and it would take a few years for it to pay for itself. But I think in 5 or 6 years, it would pay for itself, and I think it would be a pretty neat idea.
Chris.
Cam was.
Go ahead, Chris.
You both make some great points, and you know, looking at the feasibility aspect of it, assuming, and you know, they do a lot of studies just to see if something like that is feasible, and let's just say that it is, and you know, there's some allocation of legislature funds as well as, you know, some of the endowment funds or whatever, you know, saying it's all possible. I think it would be a phenomenal decision for the NCHSAA to pick up and relocate somewhere in the vicinity of Greensboro. And let's just pick out a spot on the map, somewhere near the Grandover Hotel Resort, right there at the junction of 74, 220, 85.
A lot of land right there.
In the middle of the state, build a 20,000-seat multi-use stadium similar to Memorial Stadium with an Olympic track in the middle, an indoor track facility. You've got everything you need to run every state championship event, whether in track, whether in football, a lot of other sports, multi-use facility right there in the middle of the state. Put the state association's offices right there as well. So, you know, they basically have their own campus.
Yes.
Put them in the geographic center as well as the transportation center of the state, to where it's easy access in and out from both sides of the state. And I think that's where your state championships could be based out of.
Gary.
You could play bat. You could if it's an indoor facility that holds about 12,000 people. Like, that's what the Dallas Cowboys use their practice facility for. They play state champion football games inside their indoor practice facility because it seats about 12,000.
Yes.
And so you could play basketball in there. You could play volleyball. You could play basically every state championship other than baseball right there in that one facility.
Yeah, no, it'd be a pretty phenomenal thing. I think it's worth discussing. I mean, I heard it from 3 different media people. I don't know if they were talking amongst themselves, but I heard the same idea from 3 different people when I was up there. So, Lexi, you ever thought about this? I had never thought about it. Chris, Reedsville was in the East this year, won a state title. Reedsville has been in the West sometimes. Is it time to put all of Greensboro back in the East for balance?
You know, I'm not going to jump and say all of them. You know, I remember back to the 80s and the 90s, you know, where 220 kind of used to be the geographical, DMZ of who's in the East and the West. And, Reedsville, they sit right there on 220, Highway 29. So, you know, they're kind of right there, could teeter-totter either way. You know, I'm not for or against it. You know, it really doesn't matter. But I think the better question, and something we could dive into later, is, do we need to do away with this East versus West platform anyway and find something new? I think that's the conversation I'd rather have. But to answer your question, you know, they're literally on the line. It's kind of hard to put them one way or the other. I guess I could go either way.
Coach Hales, what do you think?
You know, it's tough because I remember for years, like, you know, especially like with Richmond, like they were in the East sometimes, they were in the West sometimes.
Yes.
You never knew. So like it impacted us kind of secondarily, you know, in terms of, well, maybe we play Richmond early, maybe we don't. But excuse me, I think it's got to be hard for those schools just to not know, you know, really until the brackets come out, whether you're going to be in the East or the West.
Right.
You know, and I think we discussed it last week, like, you know, why I like the NFL playoff system better, because, like, you know, before the season starts, kind of what you're playing for and who you're playing for, you know, as opposed to this, you know, a team like Reedsville, in this case, they just don't know if they're East or West.
Yeah. Cam, you don't think it would make much of a difference?
Yeah, no, I mean, I put it in the chat. Like, I mean, when you're talking about Reedsville or other Greensboro teams like Grimsley, I don't think those coaches would necessarily mind, because they're good enough and they can compete in either side. And I think, quite frankly, they would win either side and get to a state championship and probably win it. I just think those programs that are set right now, they've got good coaching staffs in place. And I don't see, if you move them to the East or the West, I don't see it being necessarily a challenge for them.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the state championship picks that we made. Jim, you almost ruined me, sir. Almost.
I had somebody helping you out on that.
I let Jim pick for me. I said, Jim, who's going to win between Middle Creek and Watauga? I didn't know. He said pick Middle Creek. And that was the only one I got wrong. But luckily, I held on. Dale made one wrong pick, so we didn't have to tie. So.
Well, it made it interesting for everybody.
I won my first pick championship. Gary's been a while since I won, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while since I won too. I hate losing.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I won, but I'm gonna take my dub.
I fortunately, Chris got married, so I could get back into it.
You know, Gary, I think you got every game right in the last 3 weeks, or maybe one right. Maybe one.
I think I went 6-0 4 out of the last 5 weeks we did picks.
Yeah, you got real hot there at the end. I was like, I don't know. Oh, Gary off.
He's a finisher.
I was losing bad till Chris got married, and I came back.
Everybody was losing bad till I got married.
Chris was like 33-2 or something. He was like crazy. I was like, this dude was never gonna get a pick wrong. But I will definitely take my championship, and we'll resume next year. Maybe we'll do basketball too, Gary. We'll bring basketball back.
You can't put girls basketball in.
No, you got to put girls. They're people too. We got to put girls basketball in. All right, let's take a look at Chris's final Sweet 16. Chris, tell us about what you did here.
Hey, well, you know, this just goes to show you how strong football is here in the greater Charlotte metro area. Obviously, you know, I'm still going to stick with my pick of Providence Day being the number one team. I feel like that was Coach Chad Greer's best season. So he was phenomenal. I would love to have seen them. You know, I'd love to see them, you know, selfishly in the public school bracket just to see how they would match up week in and week out. But I think they would do just fine. You know, I know there's some other outlets out there that try to cover football that thinks Huff is number one, and that's cool. Huff is worthy of being number one. And, you know, any other year other than this particular year with Providence Day, I think Huff would be number one. I mean, they had a special team. Hats off to Sean Baker and that program. You know, I was thoroughly impressed watching Ethan Royal and company absolutely dismantle a really good Millbrook team that, by the way, I think played well. So it just shows you how strong and dominant that Huff team was. Looking right there, though, I mean, there's some really good football teams. You know, you had some that kind of jumped up there late in the year. Sun Valley, you know, they weren't ranked in the final regular season one, but you looked at the great run that Coach Smith over there at Ryan Smith at Sun Valley had. You know, I think this shows you how deep football is in Charlotte. I mean, it's a great year for football this year. I feel like this is one of the better years in Charlotte.
Yeah, I think a lot of times going in terms of the champion, people look at the last thing they saw. Like Providence Day was number one all year long. They didn't lose, and they were dominant, and they won a state championship. They're the highest-ranked team in every national poll I've seen. They're inside the top 20 in all but one, I think, and the other one they're 21. And, you know, you just saw Huff win, and I think people think because they just saw Huff win, Huff should win the championship. But I do agree with this pick. We were talking the other day, I think, on Jim and Dale's show on Wednesday. Maybe it was on our show. I can't remember. We were talking about, does this Providence team rank among the all-time teams we've seen? And I would rank them easily inside the top 10. I would not rank Huff in the top 16. I think defensively Huff is really good, but I think in balance, I think I would rank Providence Day. Now, Cam, I know you have an issue with Providence Day being number one. What's your issue?
I mean, I just think that across the board, I don't think they're quite as deep. Now, did they have a dominant season? Yes. Are they in the private school ranks? Yes. I don't think they see the intense level of competition week in and week out. And I mean, this isn't a diss at these programs. I know they're doing what they can, but when they're playing Charlotte Latins and Cannons that aren't necessarily as competitive, it's not necessarily a bye week, but it's a built-in bye week. And I mean, for a team like Providence Day, they're going to roll those teams, and they did. And I mean, they did beat Raven Gap. They did beat Charlotte Christian. But I mean, if you look on this list, there's also Independents who beat Charlotte Christian.
They beat the state champion in Pennsylvania as well. I think with Huff and Providence Day, their conferences are both kind of similar. Huff had Myers Park. Providence Day had Charlotte Christian. But I mean,
played a team from Virginia that was in the state finals as well and beat them.
Correct. Go ahead.
Here's another thing. Like, if you're talking about comparing those two, like, are you comparing them like 1 through 22 or like 1 through 40? Like, and what I mean by that, because I did have a bone to pick with you guys, because for years, you know, we talked about, you know, and everybody talked about independence. In those last couple of years of the run, you guys used to say that, like, Well, Butler's more talented than Independence is now. What the thing about it was maybe 1 through 5, like our top 5 were better than their top 5.
Right.
But their top 22 is better than our top 22. Like if you line them all up like, backyard style and 44, 44 players, like more of their 22 are getting picked than ours. So like, that's the question here. Are we talking about like who's a better, deeper program? Like
I would say,
based on the numbers.
I would lean Providence Day in the starters. I would lean Huff in the overall depth. Me personally.
Okay.
Haven't seen them.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense to me. Again, I didn't get to see Huff as up close and personal.
I mean, they're both really, really good. I mean, Weddington is really.
Well, that's the thing. 1 through 22, like 1 through 22, Providence Day, like there's no drop off.
No, they're all.
This kid doesn't belong out here.
Yeah, that's why all those kids signed on signing day. They're really, really good. All right, so let's also take a look and see what Chris did in his final statewide rankings. Let's look at the 1A through 4A. Chris.
Yeah, I mean, again, some great football. I'm glad that we highlight the 1A through 4A. The smaller school football often gets overlooked because, a lot of times, especially on this show and a lot of other outlets, people just want to talk about Huff. They want to talk about Grimsley. They want to talk about West Charlotte. But, when you get out of the bright lights of the big city and you get out there in the countryside and in a lot of the towns that really make up this state, there is some really, really good football. And it shows, and you've seen it in some of the state championships. Now, I know 1A is probably a 2-man race, and 2A was probably a 5-man race.
Mm-hmm.
But, once you start getting up into the 4A ranks, you look at that top 8 and 4A, every one of those top 8 teams was really, really good. 3A, look all the way down to Hendersonville, Walkertown. There was a time when we was talking about Walkertown potentially as a state championship team. It just shows you that 4A, 3A really deep. Obviously, we know that Tarboro and Murphy kind of dominated the scene in 2A, but I think this goes to show you that, sometimes just open your eyes and it's not just Charlotte football. It's not just Raleigh. It's not just big time. There's a lot of really good football around the state.
No, I saw it this weekend. I got a good look at it, all 8 games and all 16 teams. Let's look at the 5A through 8A, Chris.
Yeah, and this is just the usual suspects. You talk about that Huff team. I think this is a generational, or the precipice of a generational run. I think that Huff is looking at a Mallard Creek 3-peat type of time. I'm not ever going to go out on a limb and say, they're going to start a 109-game winning streak and in a row like Independence did. But I do think, looking at the way Coach Baker has built that program at Huff, I think they're on the very early end of a really strong run. And unless just somebody out schemes them and outplays them and probably out recruits them. I hate to use that term, but I think Huff is on the scheme, on the plan to really do big things.
Yeah, I think Baker is starting to look to me like a Brian Hales, a Sam Grinder, a Palmieri. He's starting to look like that. He's won like 38, 39 straight conference games. I just, seeing up close how the players relate to him. Cam and I were coming out of the locker room and out of the press conference and just seeing how those kids just loved on him. I see that in great coaches. I saw that when Hales' team were winning. I saw that when Aaron Brand's teams were winning. Just that.
Only thing that could delay that, Langston, is if they don't get a significant pay raise and somebody from South Carolina or Georgia comes calling.
Yeah.
He's young enough where he could say, "See you, CMS.
Yeah. Correct.
I did what I could do." See, he's not stuck in the pension plan like Brian and Sam.
Yeah.
He's young enough that he could say, "See you."
It's funny. I had this conversation with another writer from another paper earlier this morning, and we were talking. He was asking me how good would Charlotte football be if you guys had, could pay your coaches and had all the coaches here. You would have Hales at Butler, you have Knotts at Independence, you'd have Brand at Chambers, you'd have Palmieri at Mallard Creek. You could just go on and on and on. Harden might be still coaching in public school somewhere. I mean, the coaching depth here would be just phenomenal.
Yeah, had pay not been what it was, and he didn't look for a better opportunity for his family, we very well could still see Mike Newsom here on the field in Charlotte. And we know how dominant he was.
That's
you're absolutely right. I mean, had the pay been what it was, we would not have seen some of our best coaches.
Newsom had a pay issue and a personnel issue as well. But yes, you're probably right. But Chris, Grimsley in the 7A, no surprise. Clayton too. You like Clayton over Weddington, huh?
Well, I do, and it's hard. They both lost. I mean, Weddington lost by touchdown. Clayton would have lost by a touchdown. They were stopped they would have lost by 3 points. They were stopped at the 1 inch line, trying to make a play. They weren't going to win at that point in the game. But yeah. Clayton lost a very toughly contested 7A championship game and handled themselves very well in the process. And it's hard for me, unless you just absolutely get blown out by 49, it's hard for me not to at least reward you. And you're the number 2 team when you lose competitively in a state championship game.
I always wondered about picking state things because, I noticed in 8A you gave West Charlotte number 2. Is the Eastern team in this environment when we kind of acknowledge that the East is a rung below the West, is it always automatic you give them number 2 and in one case you did, in one case you did not?
And I don't think that's right, by the way. I don't think I sent you West Charlotte number 2. I'm pretty sure I sent you Millbrook number 2, but
you did? Okay. I just copied and pasted it.
Huh. Well, then that might be a typo because I'm looking at it right here, what I thought I sent you, and it's okay. Because I would have had Millbrook number 2 far and away. So that might have been a mistake. My apologies if I sent it to you right there. But no, not every time. There's times where, the state championship game was played the week before in the Western or the Eastern Region Finals, and if you show up in the state championship game and you blow a team out by 30 or 40 points, I don't think that automatically makes you number 2.
I think that's 6A. If you look at 6A between Northern Guilford and Watauga, that was a 1-point game. And to me, looking back, hindsight being 2020, that might have been the 6A championship game right there, but it obviously wasn't. But,
Watauga had to go for 2, right, to win the game at the buzzer. Yeah.
But it's cool having Middle Creek at number 2. I get that. And
then we got Crest in number 1 in 5A, and they got a coaching opening at Crest too, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. If I'm Crest, I'm probably going to promote their defensive coordinator Frank Toms to that job. I think he's the
isn't he a Crest grad?
He is an incredible player there. Went off, educated at UNC Chapel Hill, proven himself as a coordinator in Raleigh, then down in Forest Hills, and then came to Crest and did a great job. He's young, he's hungry, he connects well with the kids. I think that he would be the logical pick. But, you never know. Someone else might apply for that job, and, you just have to interview them and have to hire them. Their resume may be too good.
Yeah. All right. Look, we'll be right back after this break with more Talking Preps. We're going to talk about the top performers for the state championship game. And eventually we're going to get Chris and Jim to tell us about who's going to be in the state championship game in 2026.
Hey, this is Chris Hughes, host of the Observer's Talking Preps. Proud to say that our show is growing and growing and growing, and we've got a brand new schedule. Mondays at 8 p.m., get our players of the week. No more waiting. Then on Tuesday, 8 p.m., catch me and Sam and all the guys of the number 1 show in high school football in North Carolina, Talking Preps. Wednesdays, 8:30, Dale Ross and Jim West will host Talking Preps OT Live, talking about statewide issues, trends, and interacting with viewers. And don't miss our post-game show Fridays at 11 p.m., where we wrap up all of the night's actions. At Talking Preps, we've got you covered all week.
All right, guys, we're back. We're going to talk about the top performers of the state championships, and we saw some doozies. I got to Chapel Hill, and Jim and Chris was sitting there. I sit down, and this dude, Ethan Nelson, hadn't kicked the field goal all season, comes out and kicks the game-winning field goal against Robinson, and everybody went nuts. I just thought that was a pretty cool moment for Ethan, and because I guess some of the guys that cover Wilson Prep on a regular basis were there, and they were going crazy, and that was kind of a cool moment to see. And then go ahead.
They had 2 penalties right before that field goal too.
Correct.
If you remember right.
Yeah.
One was a delay, I believe. The other one's
they pushed him back
to
from 22 to 27.
And the timeout and everything. That guy hit it. He had ice. He had ice in his veins. Just as cool as can be.
But this is if you hadn't done it all year, and then you come and do it.
He not even attempted an extra point. And they backed it up, and I think he would have hit that. He'd have hit another 10, 15 yards on that extra point.
No, it was
beautiful kick.
It was pretty special.
He did get about a 10-yard head start. It looked like he was running forward for a kickoff.
That was just a cool.
Great protection.
That was one of my favorite moments of the whole weekend, and you probably will hear that from me again. But I really enjoyed that. But then in the nightcap on Thursday, Ethan Royal kept saying, "We're going to talk soon, talk soon, talk soon." Well, we finally got to talk to him. And he had a huge game against Millbrook. 13-29 passing, had a touchdown pass and a big run at the end to kind of put a little icing on the cake. But Millbrook had allowed 72 points in 13 games, so Huff scored 21. What'd you see on that game, Ken?
Look, I mean, this kid, I think he's got the chance to be really, really good. I mean, just a junior, he'll have a whole summer of workouts to really tune the finite stuff in his passing game. But he's got an extra gear. I told him after that game, I was like, I didn't know you had that gear in you, because he was pulling away on that long 70.
What is his social media handle called? E for speed.
E for speed. Yeah. I looked at I was like, I guess he lived up to his name. But now he's got a lot of talent. I think just when he fine tunes the little things in the passing game, I think their offense could be even more explosive next year.
I would just one advice, Mr. Ethan Royal. Try not to take as many hits as you took this season. You got to get to the championship game. You can't get knocked out along the way. And then on Saturday, Chris, my man Evan Burrows. I mean, what a game this man had. I mean,
that young man was special.
6'6". Go ahead.
He was just special. I mean, he is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of things, but he is just one of those all-time gritty athletes. You know, I hate to make this comparison, but I think in Watauga football lore, I think that Eric Breitenstein is far and away the number one athlete to ever come from Watauga.
Yeah.
And you could make a case for Anderson Castle right now, who's a running back at Duke, who was the quarterback for the Pioneers a couple of years ago. But I think Evan Burrows has played his way up into the top three of best athletes ever to come out of Watauga in the multiple sports. But what he did on that football field and the way he sliced and diced his way through Middle Creek's defense, I mean, he was unbelievable. He had the fans at King Stadium on their feet.
It was amazing. He's going to Duke on a baseball scholarship. I think if I'm the Duke coaching staff on football, I'm like, hey, bro, you want to try?
And showed up the day after the state championship and suited up for a basketball win.
And balled out, yeah. No,
I love it.
He was Coach House. He was very impressive. I was just glued to that game. I mean, this guy was just, every time the ball went up, he went to go get it. Every time he got it, he went to go score. I mean, he was just dangerous and very confident. You know, not right on that cocky, confident line, but I love that, man. He was a great player.
That's one of my favorite things about high school sports is every once in a while when you come across a kid like this that's just great at everything. Mm-hmm. You know, Chris, like you said, like the day after the state championship game, he's dressed for a basketball game. I'm sure as soon as basketball's over, you know, like you said, he's going to play baseball at Duke. But, you know, and again, I think you see this in some of the lower level schools, the 1As, the 2As, and the 3As, where those kids have to play. But when you start to see it in these bigger schools and a kid putting up games like this, not just games like this, but just a career like he's had, it's awesome to see a kid that's doing everything, and he's just being great at all of it.
Yeah, Gary, if you remember a couple, Gary, hold on, Gary, I'm gonna let you talk. Hold on. If you remember a couple weeks ago, you narrated his highlight, and it says 17 catches for 91 yards. Well, I got a text from one of the Watauga people. I'm not sure who it was. It was 17 for 191 in that game.
Yeah, I remember. You know, like Hales just said, this idea of at the lower levels they don't specialize.
Yeah,
they just play everything, and it used to be that way at the higher levels. I remember plenty of great Butler football players playing basketball at Butler. But you know, I used to always say when Mallet Creek was having that run, that they had one of the top 3 football teams in the state, and if they would just let 5 of those guys on that football team play basketball, they would have been a top 5 basketball program.
Yeah,
but they were deterred from playing basketball, and it's so sad to see, and it's happening in girls sports big time, where they only want them playing one sport now. But for him to go to Duke on a baseball scholarship, dominate the football championship, and go play a basketball game the next day, I mean, I love it. That's what sports should be about in high school.
Absolutely.
And specialization robs us of performances like this. Because if he was forced to do it, obviously, I'm sure Duke would say, no, you're playing baseball. You're coming to college to play baseball. But, credit to the Duke coaches, too, to let, to be open-minded enough with that.
Right. Jim, you saw this next guy, Michael Williams. He filled in for an injured starter, had 21 carries, a bunch of carries for a guy who doesn't do it every day, 101 yards, and they beat Clayton. What did you think about his performance?
What a stud. I mean, that is a gutsy performance right there. Coming in, not something that you really do, then playing in the state championship game against a very good defensive team in Clayton. I mean, Clayton is pretty tough against the run, and having 101 yards, that's a statement right there. That guy has got a heart.
And they needed that because Clayton had a really good plan for Faison Brandon. They really, kind of limited his explosive plays up top, and he had one big drop that helped. But, I mean, they needed that performance on the ground from Micah, and to give him 21 carries, I was just impressed that they gave him the ball that often in the state championship game.
And even though they didn't win, that quarterback for Clayton, he was
stud.
Yeah. Well, in two legs to two. Sometimes you're not. I know it looks like you're giving the ball to the running back 21 times, but a lot of those handouts you're giving it to the O-line 21 times.
Yeah, true.
All of these guys don't fumble it and go win us the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Deontay Neal of Reedsville. They have a kid that we talk about a lot, Kendra Harrison, on the show. Kendra is the reigning North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year. A couple years ago, he was a Max Preps National Athlete of the Year. There are more people in Reedsville than not that will tell you that Deontay Neal is the best athlete in Reedsville history and not Kendra Harrison. And in the state championship game, he had a Deontay Neal type of game, Chris. 2 rushes, 65 yards, 7 catches, 158. He had 4 tackles. He might have had a 102-yard interception return, but the referee wouldn't let him come out of the end zone.
Yeah, Saturday evening in between the state championship games up in Durham, I was having a little quick dinner with a former Reedsville player who's now the head coach at another school, and Jay Purdue, who's a longtime offensive coordinator at Cummings, now up at GW Danville. But he has been around played against Reedsville teams dating back to the 80s when he was coaching. So he has said he has seen every athlete that's come through. The coach now, head coach that played at Reedsville, he's seen a lot of them too. And they all steadfast say that Deontay is far and away, and it's not even close, the best athlete and the best football player to ever come through Reedsville. And gosh, we know the storied history. I mean, they call themselves the football capital of North Carolina. And
they won 23 of those things.
That's a strong statement.
They won 23 of those things. And he's like a small guy, like 5'9". He's a great basketball player. Games we've seen in Winston-Salem State Championships. What do you think about
And he has a chance, if I'm not mistaken, to win rings in football and basketball 3 years in a row or something.
That would be correct, I believe. Ken, what do you think about Deontay?
I was going to say, I think when it comes to Deontay and Kendra, they are both going to school to play the wrong sport. I think Deontay could play football at the next level, and quite frankly, as good as Kendra is at football, I'm not taking anything away from him. I just think he's an even better basketball player. I mean, the dude shattering back.
Number 1 tight end in the country, Ken.
He's a really, really doggone good basketball player too. I mean, I've seen him play both several times.
He's not a McDonald's All-American in basketball, but he's the number 1 tight end.
He is a really good basketball player. But I'm just saying, I think Deontay Neal, when it comes to football, I think he could play at the next level. I mean, his height does hurt him when it comes to rankings and things like that, and I'm sure it does for a lot of shorter players. But he can flat out ball, and I think, I mean, if you're asking me, I would have played football if I were him.
I'd take a flyer on Deontay Neal if I was a football coach. I mean, he just can play. He's one of those guys. I mean, there's plenty of smaller football players that are getting down in the pros right now. This guy has phenomenal athletic ability, phenomenal vision. He's a great leader. Everything, I don't know him. I just watch from afar, and I've been in the same gym, same field as him, and just watched. And he just has that it thing. Gary always talks about that it thing. He has that, and I've always been impressed with him. Gary, I did want to ask you about Land Farmer. My man threw 8 touchdown passes and could have thrown probably 10, maybe 11. I've never seen a state championship game with 84 points in it, and Shelby honestly could have scored more. They had a running clock in the fourth quarter.
It looked like a video game. I was going back and forth between watching that game, and I think I was watching a college game. Maybe it was the Celebration Bowl, I think it was. And when I saw the score 56-34, I think, I
Yeah,
was like, man, that was a good game. And
that was a halftime.
no, it's 4 minutes before the half.
Yeah,
I was like, what?
yeah.
I mean, it was a basketball game.
No, it's crazy. And this man had all day to throw, Gary. I mean, he was back there counting daisies. I mean, he had all day to throw. I was like, I don't know what Kinston saw in the game plan, but letting him just stand back there and pick out receivers was not it. I mean,
Yeah.
They just gave him too much time.
You know, I want to kind of give my take on this young man. I visited Shelby, saw them to begin the season at the Cleveland County Jamboree back in early August this year.
Yeah.
And absolutely watched him torch South Meck in the second game, maybe of the Jamboree. And Shelby won that game 28-0. In fact, it made me think that South Meck was not going to be as good as I thought they were. Obviously, South Meck turned out to be a pretty good team, which just went to show how strong that Shelby team is. And he picked them apart. I saw him last week when they blanked Lincolnton 30-0, just absolutely picked Lincolnton apart. And then obviously we saw on TV, I was there in person to see the performance against Kinston. He is such a pinpoint passer. He can put the ball where he wants to, but he can also sling it when he wants to as well. But he's such a big body. I mean, he would probably have been a blue chip left tackle back in my day. I mean, he's just got that size, this quick feet and everything. But the one thing that I can't believe, and I had a chance, I was talking to Coach Chris Emery, I was talking to head coach Mike Wilbanks after the game, and the one thing that they cannot understand is he's a good student, is that he's only got 2 offers right now for really, really low-level football. I do not understand where coaches are missing the boat in the recruiting with a kid like that, because he just seems to have all the intangibles, the arm, the size, the quickness, the grades. I mean, he's a good kid. I just don't get it.
Yeah, 2 words, Chris.
It's called the transfer portal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jim, you've been saying all year that this was the Tarboro Invitational in their classification. It didn't look like the Tarboro Invitational in the first half because Tarboro and Murphy were tied at 0-0. But in the second half, my man Cameron McDowell Moore got loose and had the bulk of his 17 carries, 190 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that win. What do you think about his performance?
Well, you know, with Tarboro, most of the time Tarboro's up 35-0 at halftime. I mean, we've always seen the scores, you know, throughout the year. This last game they played Murphy. Murphy has an outstanding defense.
Yeah,
but even outstanding defense can get tired by a guy like McDowell Moore. I mean, he just wore them out. And I mean, 17 times, 190 yards. That's impressive. Ice bath territory, if you ask me. So that was just great effort.
Yeah, he had a couple runs that were just special. He, you know, kind of weaving in between in and out of guys, and then turn on the Jets at the end. He had the power to run over guys. He was a really impressive running back. One of the better running backs I've seen in the state all year long, actually. And then our last guy, Virginia recruit Eli Hamrick, Chris, had a big game against Wilson Hunt.
I'm going to tell you, you know, looking at the uniforms that Crest have, obviously, you know, they kind of look a little bit like the Packers.
Yeah,
and he's number 4 on there. You could have mistaken him for Brett Favre. He slings it. I'm going to tell you what, he throws a 99-mile-per-hour fastball when he decides to throw that ball. It is incredible, the zip and the arm strength that comes off of there. Great leader. You know, his father, Ryan Hamrick, you know, he's a legacy kid. His father, Ryan, was the quarterback of Crest 1994 4A championship game. And he just looked the part, played the part. Great leader, very happy young man on the sidelines, but also, you know, he's got that killer instinct. But I'm going to tell you where he sold it to me, and he's going to Virginia. I think he could have played anywhere. Michael Edwards had 2 long runs, direct snap runs for touchdowns. And one of them, I think, was a 60 or 70-yard run. On the long run, direct snap out of their little wildcat position, Hamrick was ahead of him, racing 70 yards downfield. Looked like Drake May.
Like Drake May yesterday. I was just
they're pounding him as the head blocker, lead blocker for his running back to score. That's the kind of young man he is. That's where he won any awards he could get from me.
No, he was pretty impressive. Let's kind of run through the state championship scores. We'll start on the right side. Robert, the Wilson Prep thing, we talked about that field goal. We talked about Tarboro. Shelby just, you know, I mean, 84 points is just crazy. And it's not the record, though, right, Chris? The record is 116.
Well, it's the record for most points in a championship game. So it is a record.
It is the record. Okay.
It's not the overall record in the state. That was 2 years ago when Pender County beat Hobton 106 to like 83. I think it's a 109 point record or something like that, or 189 points. But this is a state championship game record.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I thought the Reevesville game had a lot of scoring in it when Reevesville was up 43-7 on Bavard to break.
I was going to say with that Shelby Kinston game, the whole time I was watching that game on the sidelines, I was thinking about Pat Benatar's song, "Hit Me With Your Best Shot." I mean, certainly it was like 56-41 at halftime. I mean, there were, I think, 14 touchdowns, and I was exhausted. And that game, I mean, that first half lasted over 2 hours. I know it had to be.
No, it was really long. And, the Crest and the Watauga games were kind of controlled, almost like a boxing match. You're gonna eat my jab the whole thing. I'm not gonna let you get close to me. You're just gonna eat this jab. I'm not gonna really knock you out, but you're gonna eat this jab the whole time. And I thought Chris really did a good job against.
I got to say one thing about that game though, and I just want to give credit due to another player. Jim was on the sideline. He probably saw it when quarterback Mez Harris for Wilson Hunt busted through that, went 80 yards on one play through the heart of the Crest defense. That was one of the most impressive quarterback runs I've ever seen in my life.
I agree. It was amazing because, I mean, I think you probably had like 4 or 5 people could have tackled, and we're talking about Crest here.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just amazing effort.
Yeah.
It looked to me, and I've seen a lot of Nick Maddox over the years for A.L. Brown, and he had a breakaway speed unlike anybody I've seen. And when he raced through that defense, he was pulling away from some speedsters like they were standing still. It was unreal.
You talked about Nick. I thought about Rabbit Waddell when I saw that play. That's the fastest football player I've ever seen on the field, Rabbit Waddell. I've never seen anybody that fast since I've been doing this. Watauga, I owe you guys an apology. I picked against you like 4 weeks in a row. You kept on winning. Phenomenal fan support. Like 2,500 fans came down from Watauga to see the game. The 1979 championship 78 championship team. A lot of those guys were there. Just the thing, Coach Hales talked about it earlier, the thing that's beautiful about high school sports is those moments like that when the town comes together, the alumni come together. And I think that's the beauty of the state championships. And Huff had a lot of former players as well. I think that's the beautiful thing about the state championships, that it brings people together for that moment. And Watauga certainly had a moment on Saturday. That was probably my favorite game to watch because you could tell it meant so much to so many people. Mm-hmm. And Chris, when I was watching that game, I was also thinking about, and I know we used to subdivide. Dale gets on because he always said, Langston, we did it before. I understand that. But this group of people had never seen subdividing. This current group of people, they'd only known 4 classes. And all of a sudden they jumped to 8, and there's a lot of consternation amongst those people. And this change gave teams like Watauga a chance to win a state championship.
No, it certainly did. I'm not against more than 4 championships. In fact, I think 4 is grossly too few. I'm still going to stand on the platform that I think too many teams make the playoffs. But nonetheless, Watauga went through a gauntlet of teams to get there. I mean, they had to beat a very tough slate of teams. An undefeated Ashbrook, a really good Northern Guilford team. They proved their mettle, but you're right. This gave teams an opportunity to play because otherwise Watauga with 1,600 kids would have been going up against, 3,000 student Huff or something like that. And, it's not apples to apples. So this gave them that chance to compete on a level playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, were you surprised say it?
One thing about the Watauga game, it was 47 years since they won the state championship. Yeah. And look how many points Watauga scored, 47 points. I remember I had to take the knee on that last extra point to do that. Nice. I didn't know. I didn't realize that. Jim, were you surprised that the Clayton game was as close as it was with Grimsley? Because Clayton was there the whole game. I was talking to Chris about this before. I was thinking probably something like a 17 to 21 point game. And Chris said that, and he makes really good sense about it. He said Clayton's going to be up for it in the first half. They're really going to be on there. So don't think the game's going to be a blowout. And he was right, 24-14. Clayton is a very good team. I just, for the life of me, I think Grimsley's just a special, like their own along with Weddington. So, So a little bit surprised, but what Chris told me made perfect sense.
Ken, what do you think about that one?
No, I mean, just like Jim was saying when we were all talking in the press box on Thursday about that matchup, I thought Scott would have a good plan for that game, and I mean, Chris could even attest. I even said I thought they may even be leading after the first quarter. I just think Grimsley they lean on you a little bit. They lean on you, and then talent's talent, and Faison did his thing. Their running back did his thing as well, but they pulled away, but it was only a 10-point margin, and I think Clayton, as long as Chadwick's there, they're gonna have some really good years coming up.
Yeah. I agree, and I want to say this. I want to kind of go back to something Coach Hale said because he is so right. And first and foremost, the coaching staff of Clayton, they schemed it out. They played their hand very well. They lined up toe to toe against the better team and came around and looked good. Now they kind of collapsed and they really did collapse in the early parts of the third quarter. They had some penalties go their way, didn't go their way, some turnovers. They kind of played themselves out of the game for a moment. But Clayton played a phenomenal game to stay in this. But when it come down to it, Aiden Smalls may be the most exciting guy on that field. And if we were out there playing playground football, I think he may have been the number one guy picked because he was just dazzling and worth all the hype. But when it came down to it, Grimsley had the 22 men that could really go out there and wear you down and pound you. They didn't make the mistakes. They are seasoned, well coached, and do the right thing. And they're also really talented. And that kind of turned out to be the edge.
Yeah, Grimsley's senior class is 44-1 in the past 3 seasons. I would say that the 2 best players I saw all weekend, and I know we're kind of jumping ahead of the script a little bit, Aiden Smalls and Evan Burrows, I thought were the 2 best players I saw this weekend. Gary, were you surprised at Huff beating Millbrook that way, or did you expect about that?
I expected Millbrook to be better offensively, but I wasn't surprised about Huff's defense. I just didn't think they would get a goose egg in the state championship. But Huff had some kicking game errors that you thought, okay, this is gonna give Millbrook the short field they need. Mm-hmm. And every time it happened, I think they messed up 3 punts.
They blocked 2.
Every time Millbrook went backward. They didn't get a first down. After those miscues by Huff special teams. So, I mean, that was the most dominant defensive effort I saw among all 8 games.
Yeah, Huff's defensive. We talk a lot about the linebackers at Huff, but what impressed me was how their defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage to allow those linebackers to be untouched and go hunting. And that's to me what made Huff so good is the linebackers wouldn't get touched. And here comes the running back. Well, I'm free. I'm going to get you. Or there goes the quarterback. I'm going to get you. And they just
they get there in a hurry.
Yeah.
And they bring a load when they get there. I mean, they just not tackling. They running through people.
Yeah, and there was a play in the first half. There was a play in the first half. Millbrook threw a pass out on the right flat, and it looked like the guy was going to go for about 20, 30 yards. And 3 Huff dudes got over there so fast, and everybody in the press box said, "Oh my God, they're so fast!" I mean, just all at the same time. And I was like, "Yeah, this game." And I was thinking to myself, "This game's over." It was 0-0 at that point. And I was like, "They're not going to score." But I thought that 4 or 5 minutes into the game. Go ahead, Els.
Yeah, no, and what you guys talk like that's the epitome of team defense, and I think that was the thing for so many years. The talk about Huff was about the individual talent. And they've had great players here, and Big 22 players here, all-state players, all of that. But like just what you're saying, and we talked about that last week too, about having that confidence, knowing that the guy next to you, the guy in front of you, the guy behind you is going to take care of his job. So like in the run game, you're talking about that D-line just doing their job, and the LB's not having to worry because they've got a great defensive backfield behind them who they trust are going to make all the plays that they need to. So, they don't have to be apprehensive in the run game. They could just, see ball, go get the ball. And again, tribute to their coaching staff for, developing a scheme that highlights their talent, but then allows them to understand where they fit, like what their 1/11th of that fraction is. And then they could just play 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. LJ Porter's father told me when he transferred.
You talked about how that first series, you're like, oh, game over, and it's 0-0.
Yeah, I did.
I saw that same thing. What it reminded me of is back in when Power Echols and James Pierce.
Yeah. But
Power Echols, It was their last state championship win. And Power Echols hit the quarterback. I forgot who they were playing that time.
Oh, I remember that game. Yeah, he hit him on a blitz.
He hit the quarterback the first
middle.
play of the game,
Yeah.
and I was like, game over.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just see the air go out that whole team off that one tackle.
Chambers played cover 0 too. It's like they were daring you to throw because you couldn't have enough time before he got to the quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Power Echols is one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. In fact, had he come back for a senior year, he would have won 3 Associated Press North Carolina Player of the Year in a row, which had never been done before. I mean, he was just incredible in high school, just absolutely incredible. Jim, I'm wondering, Mr. Eastern perspective, when you see the 3 Raleigh teams taking the L's on the 6A, 7A, 8A, is that discouraging, or do you think that Raleigh took a step forward? And not just Raleigh, but teams east of, further east as well. Did they take a step forward, or do you think there's some work to do?
Oh, there's a lot of work to do. I mean, first thing, we lost to 6A, 7A, and 8A, obviously. Actually, 5A, if you look at it, to everybody all the games on the left. But not only that, though, we don't have the depth. We don't have the number of schools that can compete for a state championship. You look at 8A, you have 4 or 5 really good teams. 7A, I'm talking about in the West. 7A, you had probably Grimsley, Weddington, but also you had several other teams like Morrisville and Independence. You just don't have the depth in the East. For every 2 good teams you have in the West, you might have 1 really good team in the East, and so I think it is discouraging. I think the East has a lot of room to catch up on in the West.
Sam, I see you just joined us. Did anything about any of these games surprise you?
I thought nothing really surprised me, I would say, outside of Shelby and Kingston looking like an unreal basketball scorer. That's the only thing that surprised me, to be honest with you. You think in championship games, cold weather, anytime you're scoring over 40 points, it's almost unheard of. And we had 3 games over 40 in the state championship games. And so that's the most surprising thing for sure.
Good call. All right. Well, speaking of Sam, we do have some coaching changes, and Coach Brown, you can't talk in this portion, but we're going to talk about some of the coaching changes, Chris. We got a bunch already. The Crest job definitely jumps out of me. State championship job. West Charlotte could have potentially the number 1 and number 2 8A team next year, talent-wise. That job's open. A lot of Raleigh jobs open as well. What do you see here, Chris?
Well, a word on the street amongst a lot of the coaches is there's going to continue to be a lot of openings. I've kind of got some whispers and some feelers out there of some things that could drop here soon. So I think it's going to be an active year with a lot of coaches. In the past couple of years, let's take ourselves back about 10 years ago. We were averaging about 100 coaching changes a year. And then you kind of got around that COVID time, and there wasn't a lot of coaches. I think a lot of guys just kind of stuck with their jobs and stayed in their place and didn't move. But I feel like some guys are kind of itching around looking for some jobs to open up. There are definitely some good jobs. We mentioned West Charlotte, Crest opening up. That's a big one. Clinton, they just opened up. AC Reynolds is set to hire a coach. They're going to promote from within. There's some other big ones that are probably about to drop. But I think this is going to be a big year and will shake up the landscape. A lot of look at AC Reynolds, look at Western Alamance, your Shane Laws, your Jeff Snuffers, Mike Hobgood, Russell Dove. I think you're going to start seeing even more. Paul Whitaker at West Henderson, some of the older coaches, the established guys, I think they're going to start moving around, and we're going to see a different face. Just like I thought that Huff is on the precipice of a big-time run because Coach Sean Baker, these guys like Coach Baker, they're the here and now, and they connect really well with this younger generation of players. And you're probably going to start seeing some of the older guys move on, and I think it's going to reshape how high school football looks moving forward.
Coach Hales, how big a deal is it that Catholic went back and got 5-time state champion Mike Brodowitz to come back?
I think it's a huge deal. I mean, there's so much has to be said, and it gets thrown around so much, I think, without thinking about what it really means. When people talk about the term culture and what your culture means, like within your locker room, what your football – what that culture means within your athletic department, within your whole school. And I mean, who knows it better than Brodowitz? My goodness. as far as knowing the kids that he'll be getting in and how to prepare them for life as varsity football players, and not just varsity football players, but young men. But no, I think, like I said, just that culture. He's a guy that gets it. I mean, heck, he was with Odo for so long. He kind of helped, develop it as well too. So I think it's a home run. I think it doesn't matter who anybody else really hires on this list. That's going to be the best hire on here.
Yeah, that's a big time. That's a very big time hire. All right, so we're going to take a look at next season. I asked Jim and Chris to give me their way too early top 20s for next season. And I know that everybody else is seeing this for the first time. Gary, I'm just curious, take a quick peek, but curious, what do you think about either one of these lists or both of the lists?
I don't know why everybody's so high on Mount Creek.
This guy, boy, I love Gary.
Continue. I'm not going to interrupt you.
I don't. They haven't proved that they know how to coach a quarterback over there. And you can't win high school football without a quarterback nowadays.
Yeah.
And I just can't figure out why everybody's so high on Mount Creek. They got lots of talent, I know, depth and everything, but they run a middle school offense. And they lean too heavily on their defense, and the defense wears out. And when the defense breaks down, they collapse. They challenge themselves now. They really challenge themselves in August with their schedule.
They did, and got some big wins.
I can really respect that, but I mean, it's turning into instant replay for me with Mount Creek. Because I don't think they know how to coach offense over there.
Cam?
What about, you want me to follow about Mallard Creek?
No, just you're seeing these
Oh,
lists.
just thoughts about the rankings in general.
Yeah, we got Huff and Grimsley. Both of them think Huff and Grimsley won too.
Yeah, no qualms about that. West Charlotte's lower than I would personally expect, but I'll say this, and I ain't getting anybody in trouble, but unless they just find the absolute gem of a coach to replace Sam, I don't think they'll have the same level of consistency they've had. If any school's upset, they can email me. I'm speaking for no one but myself, but I just think that I think they'll struggle to keep that same level of consistency they've seen the last couple of years. Weddington, just I like where Weddington's at in Chris's list. Millbrook both right around 4 or 5. So overall, I think the rankings are pretty solid. Jim, sorry, I kind of like Chris's just a smidge better, but hey, that's what he's a guru.
Bro.
You guys are great. No comment right from me.
No, absolutely no comment from me. Absolutely. You done? I'm sorry, Cam, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I think Independence is a little too low.
Yeah,
It might be. I agree.
I think Independence should be a lot higher.
I don't, and just for the record, I don't have them low in mind because I don't think they're good. I just think some other teams are going to be really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that Providence one kind of jumps out to me, though, guys. Both of you guys have Providence in top 12. Wes Ward's got it going on over there at Providence. I like him as a coach. I like what he's building, and I think you guys could be right. I think Myers Park could also be really good next year. I think Millbrook's going to be better than what people. You guys have them ranked really high, but I think Millbrook's going to be really good next year. They're hungry, and when they came to the press conference, those guys weren't like crying, like disappointed. They were more like, "Man, I can't wait to next year. I got a taste of it now. I can't wait to next year." And I think they saw the speed and the difference between East and West. And I think the Millbrook. I don't know what their schedule is like, but if I was that coach, I'd try to get some games against Western teams in the preseason as much as I could.
I think that they're 2-year contracts, though. That's the problem a lot of times, 2-year contracts, unless they got something
I would
they
do
can move.
jamborees. I'd try to figure out maybe a spot.
What are the chances of opening the season at Bank of America between Huff and Grimsley?
That's the Riley Fields question. I love to see it.
Right.
I like to see Dutch Fork come and play Providence Day and then Huff and Grimsley after that or before that.
Well, South Carolina can get involved. South Carolina can get a lot more involved this year or next year at the Bank of America too, as well, because they're out of their contract year. See, last year was like North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina was doing the like renegotiating the contracts of like like who you're playing.
Yeah.
And South Carolina was on their second. They were on their last year of it this year, so they'll be able to schedule games this year.
Yeah, we've been one off like that for years. I remember a lot of times trying to schedule some of those, and it just never worked out.
Hey, look at this! Oh hells, I'm back with you, baby.
You cut him off?
Yeah, man.
Take the hat off. Take the hat off.
Yeah, well, it's a little hat head right now. Hat head.
Man.
Yeah. I got to get the interview status.
The dreadless time running. Well,
no wonder your hat is so big.
I know, right? So Jim broke down each classification with a little more depth. Jim, kind of run us through this.
Okay, we'll start with 1A. I honestly think Wilson Prep and Robbinsville, they're probably going to play for the next 3 years in the championship game. Robbinsville, to be honest with you, I don't think there's any team that can really come within 21, 28 points with them on the West. And Wilson Prep, there might be ever so often they might have a challenge from like maybe a Southeast Halifax or a Kent Pride or something like that. But I think it's going to be Wilson's Prep to lose over there. The two-way East this next year, Tarboro is still by far the best
team. But you
team.
included somebody else with Tarboro. It's not just Tarboro. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I wanted to give Holmes a little bit of credit. So I think they're going to have a stronger team. They're going to have a lot of players come back. They should have a little bit more cohesiveness. I still think Tarboro is favored. I think they're a significant favorite. But Holmes is in the same area code at least. I don't think they're going to get a running clock on them. In the 2A West right now, I see a four-headed monster, to be honest with you.
I see one more. I see one more possibly in the West.
Who?
That's not Queens Grant. Possibly. All right. Keep it moving. My bad.
You breaking some news that we don't know?
No. Just
I'm sorry.
Throwing it out there.
The crickets had just started hearing my ears.
I know, right?
They start playing football.
That's why I said he's breaking some news.
Yeah. That'd be smart if they did. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Well, we'll table what Sam's coming up with here. But in the 3A East, I'll say this right now, with the 3A East through 3A West, again, you're going to see the pendulum way over to the 3A West. It is so much stronger in the 3A West. Right. Lincoln, Eastern, Randolph, Shelby, Mount Airy, these are your usual suspects. I think whoever wins the West will win the 3A next year. Right now, I should say the way too early. I do like that Pender team from the East. I think they're really loaded. The one team that I don't have on here is James Keenan from the East. I think they may be just 1 year away, but they're going to have a lot of talent coming in next year. So keep an eye on James Keenan. In the 4A, the 4A East, Reesville, to me, I still think they're the strongest team in the East. In the West, I like High Brighton and Burns. I think either one of those teams could represent the West really well. I think
Burns has that Watauga type of following. That would be a special run for them to get to the finals.
Oh yeah, they're fanatics over there.
All right, let's take a look at the larger ones, Jim. Let's start on the left of the 5As.
Okay, well, like just a lot of every other classification, the West is deeper than the East. I like J.M. Robinson. I think they're going to be loaded. I do think Franklin is really close to them, and then you can't forget South Point or Hickory. I will mention here, you don't see a couple of teams on here like Crest and East Lincoln, but they're still really good teams. In the East, Northside Jacksonville is the one that's really got my eyes on, but I think Hunt's going to be I think they're going to be loaded for better again. And Southern Nash, I think they pretty much returned their whole running attack from that last year, so keep an eye on them. In the 6As, this is one of the rare ones where I think the East actually might have a leg up. I like Northern Nash. I think they're just a very strong team. Northern Nash, Jacksonville, Scotland, 71st. I think 71st might be just a little bit maybe a step or two behind the other three. Scotland's going to be loaded. In the West, though, I like Statesville and I like Kings Mountain. And then you also got to think about Charlotte Catholic. I mean,
I was just about to say, I think, Broderick is back, and all he does is go to state finals. That's all he does.
Exactly. And Mount Tabor, they're going to have a lot of players come back, too. So keep an eye out for Mount Tabor. For the championship game, I think Northern Nash is probably my favorite in the East. In the West, I mean, it's wide open. In the 7As, I'll start out with the East. That conference with Southeast Raleigh, Gardner, and Clayton and Cleveland, that's a very special conference. That's probably the best conference east of east of 15501 or east of Highway 220, and really good class there. You got three of those teams there. They're going to be fighting it out. Gardner, Southeast Raleigh, Clayton again. Cardinal Gibbons, the usual suspect there. In the West, I like Grimsley. I think they're just going to be loaded again. I think they're going to come back.
That freshman quarterback is a stud, Brody Lowe, stud.
Oh, I agree. But don't dismiss a team like Independence or Weddington or even like Norman. I mean, I think Grimsley though is a step ahead of Lake Norman, and Lake Norman just a little bit ahead of Weddington and Independence at this time.
If Independence gets a running back, they're going to be a problem.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you on that. Independence is that's a special team. I do like their coach. In the East, in the 8A, Millbrook, Hoggard, to me, those are your usual suspects. Jordan, Leesville Road, I think they're probably a step behind.
Right.
In the West, I'm still going Huff. And I know, Gary, Cam, I apologize. I do like Mallard Creek. It has – what you guys said is right, but I'll drink the Mallard Creek Kool-Aid. Providence, they're going to be loaded. They're going to have a very veteran team coming up.
I think it's cool seeing Providence up there. I just think that's cool.
I think so too. I think it's a very special place for them. And West Charlotte, that's the elephant in the room right now. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but they could be really special or they could really bomb. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, they gotta definitely get the right coach. I think they need to move quickly because they got a lot of star players that could go other places. All right.
You know who I hadn't seen on anybody's list?
What's that?
And I think people are acting like they're a one-hit wonder is Palisades.
No, I don't think that.
I don't think so either.
They
do you think Palisades
their ascent has been gradual, but they've improved every year, and I didn't see them on anybody's list.
Do you think they get to a regional semifinal?
Personally,
that's what he was talking about, though. He's talking about
the Final Four.
He's talking about teams getting to the Elite Eight. That's what.
Yeah, personally, I don't see it. I think they're probably in the top 10 in the West, probably maybe in the top 8, top 4. I don't know. I can see them going to the third round, though.
Yeah. Well, I asked Chris to tell us his state finals predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a rematch, and I really don't know that it's very close. I think Huff and Millbrook are both going to dominate their classes. I mean, Hoggard could be in the equation in the East. Matthew Boring's going to be a senior. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's a really, 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 really good quarterback. So Hoggard has a lot of pieces. They do it right down there. But Millbrook's just got so much talent, and I'm sure they're going to get more before the season starts. So, that's just kind of what I see. 7A is a little bit different. I mean, yeah, I think Grimsley, that's a well-oiled machine as long as Darryl Brown stays and, Birdie Lowe and all the companies surrounding them, their top 22 is just better. And their JVs this year I think they lost one finally on JV after going undefeated for years in a row. So, their JV talent's really good. I still think that Cardinal Gibbons is going to be a factor in the East. I think Garner is going to be really good. I think Southeast Raleigh is going to be improved. Clayton is still going to be in the mix. Those are kind of the teams in the East that I see really making noise that I think can compete. Kind of like Jim said, they most all of them come from the same conference. The West will be, it's going to be the same usual suspects. I think it's going to be Weddington, obviously, Independence, Lake Norman. Lake Norman's going to have a great year. Look, if Lake Norman can keep that team together, they are going to be top shelf. They will be as good as it comes. 6A, hard to go against that Watauga team. I think they're going to be loaded again. The JV team, phenomenal. A lot of young talent. They learned to win. They figured it out. They might continue to do it. We saw what that home field advantage in December looks like. Some other good teams. Sun Valley was, their team. They showed that they could compete. Scotland, I agree, in the East is going to be really good. I have a sneaky suspicion that could be, a swan song for Coach Richard Bailey, talking about some of the top coaches kind of moving on to the next level. I'm agreeant with Joel and Jim, Northern Nash. They're going to be really, really special. Another team in the 6A that I think is going to be special. I think they're a year ahead of schedule. I think they're 2 years away from being elite, but Statesville. Statesville's got a young freshman quarterback, this year's freshman, who I think has a chance to be as good as anybody they've ever had. So keep an eye on that Greyhound team. 5A, I agree with Jim. I like J.M. Robinson. They're going to continue to build that program. They're going to have to tread through some shark-infested waters. Hickory's still going to be Hickory, even though with a different quarterback. East Lincoln's going to be good. South Point's always South Point. But I think Robinson is due. Wilson, Hunt, they're a young team. I think Hunt's going to be around for a couple of years, Jacksonville, Northside, and Havelock. Havelock may be the team that gets back there. I know they kind of got off some people's radar this year, but look at Havelock. I'm all in on High Brighton. High Brighton was a year ahead of schedule this year. They went 11-2, coming off a 2-7 team the year before. They are loaded for bear. They're going to be even better next year and then the year after. So that High Brighton team is going to be around for a long time. Hard to go against Reidsville. In the 3A, I know Shelby is probably going to be back. I'm probably going to be wrong on this one. They'll find new kids. It won't be Land Farmer. It'll be somebody else, but they always reload with different kids. They always look the same. They run the same offense. They beat you the same way, just different names. So it's probably going to be Shelby, but I do like Eastern Randolph. They bring a lot of guys back. James Keenan, I do think, is on schedule next year. I think Keenan, they're going to pound some guys. 2A, I'm all in on Tarboro until someone proves me different. And there's nobody in the East right now, even within about 40 points of them. So it's Tarboro. Corvian probably in the West. I know Murphy's going to be really good. East Wilks is going to be back. Jim didn't have them on his list, but I still like East Wilks. Community School of Davidson, they'll probably still be around. I thought this was their year to do it, but all in on Corvian. And then who could disagree with Jim? He's right. The next 4 years is going to be Robbinsville and Wilson Prep, unless there's a new charter school that pops up and Sam Griner's the coach of it, and they get some players and they're in it. Who knows? But until then, I'm going to say Wilson Prep and Robbinsville.
All right, that's it. That's what guys. You can't get this type of expertise. That's why I love having Jim and Chris on the show. It's pretty amazing. So we're going to take a quick break. I think I'm right. And we're going to come back with my favorite part of the show for the last time of the year, Coach versus Coach.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
All right, guys. Hey, last week, championships in the rearview mirror, but hey, we got one more matchup going head to head. I can't wait. This is for all the marbles and then some bragging rights going into 26, but let's lock them doors one last time.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, guys, this is a bonus edition of Coach versus Coach, doing it after the championships, but I think it's going to get fiery in here. I can't wait to the answer for this first question. By the way, we got Coach Griner in there, all shaved up, haircut. Man, you looking good, my friend. But anyway, what's it going to be, Coach Griner? Defer?
Yeah, give me the ball right now.
Give me the dang ball. That's what I'm talking about.
Might not get it back right now. Yeah.
There you go. Hey. Question number 1. Should the state move away from seeding based on East-West and go to 1 through 48? Hit it, Coach.
If they want a better tournament, yes, they should do it. Now, driving restrictions, things like that, that's what it's going to come down to, I think. But if you want a better tournament and you get better turnout on all aspects where the best 2 teams meet in the finals and not just East versus West, regardless of the classification, you should definitely do it without East and West built into it. Just go 1 through 48, best teams up there, moving on.
Coach Hales.
I think for the initial rounds, right, round 1, round 2, you're fine going, keeping it split East and West for travel purposes. But no, I think once you get after that, once you get down to like those last 12, 16 teams, maybe, then go ahead and reseed it. Then if we're traveling, we're traveling, but you're going to get much better games too.
Gary?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I like the idea of the reseeding. That first round, with our famous participation playoffs now, you don't want some 1-9 team traveling 5 hours to get beat by 50. So I think once you get down to the final 16, maybe, then you could kind of reseed. But I don't think you need to send a 1-9 team on a 5-hour trip.
I agree. And let me go ahead and give my take on this too, since I'm an old coach. We'll have coach versus coach. I like what you all said. But, hey, let's go back to that dirty old word. It was kind of dirty about 8 years ago, but let's kind of go back to it and reshape what it looks like, pod system. And let's kind of go to a little bit more of a regional first 2-round setup and make it look a little bit like the pod system where you're playing somewhat regionally based teams, but not East Columbus versus Robbinsville. That's just asinine in my opinion. And then after the first 2 rounds, let's go back. Let's re-rack the deck. Go to the RPI. I hate that term too, but go to the RPI and top to bottom RPI, have a 2-week tournament to go to the regionals. And then, it don't matter if you're East or West. Hey, let's get Millbrook versus Huff in the 3rd round. And let's get Huff versus West Charlotte in the finals or something like that. I think that would be the ticket. I don't know what y'all think.
No, I think one thing you could do too, and honestly, as I was talking, I had that pod thing in my head. But Gary, what's the one system of the playoffs you always like? Is knowing before the season, the 3rd place team from this conference goes here. Yeah. So maybe that's what you do for those first 2 rounds. So that way
I think it makes I think it makes conference championships more important too.
I agree with that. Like a conference championship doesn't mean anything right now except a T-shirt. It's kind of weird.
And then you still get to see other teams too. Because I know that's one of the drawbacks to the playoffs. One of the things we don't like is seeing the same teams over, that you play in the regular season. Yeah, so this way, you get to see some of those teams. Absolutely.
Yeah, even if the Charlotte team's got to travel somewhere different. I enjoyed the season when we were in 3A, where we had to go to the mountains and when we had to go to Hickory and we had to go to Dudley. That was really fun. Like the charter buses. Yeah, it's a little more expensive and things like that, but you remember those times. I mean, it's not the same down the street 14 minutes, Seriously.
Yeah. Well, it is fun too when you have a better team.
Yeah, that's true. I thought my team was better this year. We probably finished higher in the state, or my former team. My bad.
Yeah, and I kind of jumped the gun when I talked about reseeding, but that played right into our next question. And Gary, I'm really interested in your take, and we'll take some short answers with the rest of you guys because we kind of already touched on it. But what do you think, Gary? Should the state reseed in the East-West into one bracket for the Elite Eight in the finals?
Yeah. I believe in reseeding. Once you get the final 8 teams in the state, then you rank them 1 through 8. 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, etc., like that, so that you can get the best state championship possible. I think we all agree that maybe 4 out of the top 5 teams in the West, they knock each other out. And, in the East, there's a cakewalk. And it goes in cycles. Don't get me wrong, because the East has had their run at it too when the West was struggling. But I just think you want it to come down to the top teams in the state. So hopefully you get the very best 2 teams in each classification playing in the championship. Now it's still gonna come up to matchups. We always talk about, match, but I think you're gonna get more competitive games in that final 8 if you reseed.
Harold, you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think honestly, like we're solving one of North Carolina's problems here tonight. Yeah, I'm saying let's do the regional, the pod system for the first 2 rounds, and then boom, go ahead and reseed it after that, and then go ahead with their playoffs. Yeah. But no, I mean I'm full agreement with what you said.
Yeah,
Gary.
I think that's you do that with the officials. Think about that. What happens in the 3rd round? You don't get officials that are local. You get officials from the outside. So you do the same thing with the teams. You create the reseed or whatever system you want to do with the pods first. But whenever we get new officials, it might not have to be Elite 8. It could probably be the Sweet 16. And right when those officials come in, I think it's the perfect time to look at that. It'd be a perfect system, Mountains.
Yeah, I agree. All right, hey guys, final question here, coach versus coach. This bonus edition going into the 26th season. Is there a better way to set up the final so we can eliminate the Thursday and Friday afternoon games? Gary, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think it's a better way. You got to get more venues. I think the Durham venue was excellent. I wasn't there, but I think that's the size stadium you want. And of course I love my school, but it's too big for a state championship game. I mean, they just get swallowed up. Now, I'm sure the kids like the locker room part of it, but I just think that major D1 stadiums are too big. I would like, say North Carolina Central in Durham, North Carolina A&T in Greensboro. I like the Durham County Stadium. I like Memorial Stadium here. Even Charlotte, UNC Charlotte. That's a nice size stadium for a state championship game. But I think if you get more venues, then you don't have to play at 4:00 on a Thursday and 4:00 on a Friday where people are scrambling. I guarantee you, I bet Huff's attendance Friday morning was the lowest it's been ever. I'm
might
sure
have been a celebration tour. You get to go in with a championship though, so they could have had fun.
Or kids got to school late. They got there, at 10 o'clock as opposed to 7 o'clock in the morning. But
True.
Playing Friday and Thursday afternoon at 4:00 and a Thursday night at 8 o'clock where you got to drive 3 hours. I don't like that.
Coach Griner.
Yeah, I would say I thought they did it right on the aspect of maybe not a 4:00 game, but a Thursday night game. I'm okay with. I thought that, different venues would be very helpful. Like we said, the UNCC. I think the Lenore Ryan is the word they played at on a Saturday, correct? But if you have more venues like that, like UNCC, like had Lenore Ryan, I think that was a very intimate setting. I didn't get to go to it, but I saw the pictures. It looked amazing. But I do think that since the 1A and the 8A had buys, them playing on a Thursday was okay. I thought they made that right. I would have been very disappointed if someone that had a game the Friday before had to play on that Thursday. Then I would have thought it was wrong. But I thought they got the 2 teams playing on a Thursday correct. Even if we were involved in it, I wouldn't have complained. No doubt.
Coach Hales.
Well, yeah. I think the first change I would make was instead of having 1A and 8A sit out a week, like let them play that week. Don't have
ding.
You know what? Well, everybody else is doing their semifinals. 1A, 8A, have your state championship. All right. So now we're down to 6 state championship games. Even if you have 2 venues, you could do 2 games on Friday night, and then you could do 2 games at each place on Saturday. Which I think that's great. Now, obviously, if you want to add another venue, you could do that too. But no, because I hated it for so many reasons with those guys, all 4 of those teams having to sit out last week. Again, you're coming off the highest of highs as a football program. And it's like, all right, great job. Go sit down over there. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point. Playing on the
Friday
before.
Playing on the Saturday before. On Saturday.
That's fine. Yeah.
So because then your state championship is away from the other regionals. Play on that Saturday.
It's a great point.
11-4 or 2, whatever, 2 and 6, whatever you want. To play on that Saturday because then nobody has to play on Thursday, which was not a hit Just
Then you don't
judging by
think.
the
Then it's
people-
only.
I can't imagine it could
Then,
be.
then you're only thinking about the following week. Only 6 teams playing. You see what I'm saying? I
And,
think.
they
Yeah.
can, and you only play
Mhm.
Friday and Saturday. You don't have
Yeah.
to play any games on Thursday. But I just think, and that's something hopefully they can tweak. I mean, obviously it's the first time we've been through this. All right, we're gonna play a little lightning round before we get out of here. I just want to get quick answers only, and I'm gonna go in the order I see you guys on the screen. And Gary's the first one. Gary,
Am I allowed to do this? All right.
yes,
good.
you're allowed to do this. Gary,
All right.
best game of the state finals. This is lightning round. Don't think about it.
Okay. The best game of the state finals would have to be Shelby and the other was because of the scoring.
Such a basketball. Get the
I know,
basketball guy out of here. Golly.
We're both basketball guys. Hales, what do you got?
First of all,
Best game
Shelby
is-
just scored it. Shelby just scored again. Huff, man, you pitch a shutout in the state championship game, physical game like that against a great football team. I think that was the best one.
Griner, best game.
Watauga.
Tiger. All right, Jim, best game.
Robbinsville Wilson Prep.
Robinson Wilson. That was a great finish. Cam.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Cam.
Oh, I thought it was unmuted. Good gracious.
You
Grimsley
just
and Clayton.
nodding. I don't know what she said.
Grimsley and Clayton.
Grimsley Clayton. Chris.
I got to go with Grimsley Clayton too. It delivered.
Grimsley Clayton. All right, so we're going to go in reverse order. Chris, best offense in the state championship game. This is an obvious question.
Oh man, Land Farmer and the Shelby Golden Lions, baby.
8 of those things. Cam.
I mean, the easy answer is Shelby, but I was going to say Reedsville.
All right, Jim.
Shelby.
Shelby.
Gary.
Watauga.
Tiger. I can see that.
This man,
All right.
he went 80 points. We
Gary,
switched it
best,
up there.
best
Gary. I like
defense. This is kind of obvious too, but best defense.
Huff.
Hales.
Huff.
Huff.
Griner.
Huff, no doubt.
Chris.
I want to say Huff, and Huff was the best, but I want to give an honorable mention to Robbinsville because they held Wilson Prep to 3rd and goal, 3rd and inches. Like they had
4 cracks right there.
They had the epic goal line stand before they decided to kick it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cam.
Huff, best defense in the state. No questions.
All right, Jim.
Kinston.
Kinston. It was
This guy, Joe Jimbo.
Hey, Kinston did shut them out in the second half.
It wasn't able to run it.
Well, Shelby did. Yeah, Shelby shut out Kinston.
Best special teams, Jim.
Best special teams.
This was not her.
Oh, I was going to say special teams, Millbrook.
Millbrook. Cam.
Probably Reedsville. They had a lot of good kick returns in that game.
They averaged about 58 yards of kick returns. Chris.
Hey, you got to go Wilson Prep.
Well,
Yeah, true. Griner.
That's what I was going to say, Wilson Prep. I was hoping I'd be the first one on that. They won it with it.
Me too.
Yeah,
Wilson Prep. Wilson Prep, you kick 1 field goal all year to win the state championship. Talk about
That's
that.
right, baby. That's what I was hoping to
Took
do.
the late game penalties to get it though.
That was a crazy game. Gary.
Wilson Prep.
Wilson Prep. All right, Gary, biggest upset.
Wow. Was there an upset? It wasn't an upset, was it?
I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder.
I think Millbrook not scoring at all
That didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, that's to me is an upset when you make it that far and you don't even score in the state championships.
Okay,
that's how I look at it.
Hales.
Yeah, I don't know any of these were upsets. I don't have an answer for this one.
Okay.
Not a quick one.
I would biggest upset was no defense got off the bus in that one state championship.
Chris.
Wilson Prep.
Cam.
yeah, I was going Wilson Prep because I think based on Robbinsville was probably favored in that game by a touchdown or two.
Okay, Jim.
The biggest upset was the West won 5 the state championships, and the East only won 3.
Okay, all right. Best crowd, and I'll answer this one. Whoever was at Lenore Ryan, but go ahead, Jim. You first.
I like the Watauga crowd.
They were special. Cam.
Yeah, I mean, Durham County showed out too. I mean, even for what I could tell on TV, they look pretty good.
All right, Chris.
has to be the crowd from Watauga. There was 12,000 of them. For the record, Durham County, Lenore-Ryan could not have held the crowds at the 8A through the 6A, but Watauga's crowd.
Okay.
Wow.
The Watauga crowd was definitely by far the best venue though was Lenore-Ryan.
Yeah. Coach Ellis.
I'm going to say both.
Oh,
Chris
hold on,
and Shelby.
Coach Ellis. It's Lenore-Ryan, not Ryan. Ryan.
He always
Lenore-Ryan.
Not Ryan.
Ryan.
Like Ryan, like a watermelon Ryan.
RHYNE, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you saying Ryan like R-Y-A-N.
I'm country, brother.
Oh, well, you are. All right, go ahead, Ed.
I'm going to say Shelby and Crest, but listen, this is why. Because I had to drive out to Hendersonville on Friday afternoon, and I've never gotten through Cleveland County that fast in my life. Got on 74, man. I cruised right on through Cleveland County. I said, where's all this traffic? I realized, they're already got a state championship.
Now, you know what was cool? Like Shelby had a bus. They took 2 buses. Shelby took 2 buses to Lenore-Ryan. And
listen. I went to Catawba. Okay, so we always said Lenore-Ryan always is crying. Okay, so this is what it is. All right.
But Shelby took 2 buses to the game. One of them came back early, but the other one stayed for the Crest game. So if you want to stay and watch your cousin play, you got a chance to do that. I just thought that was really cool to Cleveland County.
That is cool, man. Yeah.
Gary.
Watauga.
All right. Best play, Gary. I gave you a hint. We talked about it earlier, just right up the middle against Chris. I give you a hint.
Okay, I'll go with that one.
All right.
Quarterback, 80 yards up the middle.
All right. Hales.
I'm taking every single time that the quarterback got to take a knee at the end of the game in these state championships.
There's a lot
victory
of those.
Formation. Yeah, victory formation.
Victory formation is the best play in football, without a doubt.
Best play of the week.
All right,
Chris. 100%.
Chris, best play.
I'm going to say Eli Hamrick for Crest racing 70 yards downfield to be the lead blocker for his running back on the touchdown play.
That was pretty special too. Cam was going to say E for speed down the left side for the touchdown, but go ahead, Cam. I won't see you done.
No, that's what I was going to say, because that was the nail in the coffin play. Like that ended all hopes and prayers that Millbrook could have had in that game to even sniff a comeback.
All right, Jim.
I always liked Harrison when he was tight roping the sidelines in that game against Rivard. That was a great play.
Yeah. All right, Jim. Best player.
Oh gosh, Farmer from Shelby.
Evan Barrows.
I can't hear you.
Cam.
I'm gonna take Farmer from Shelby.
All right, Cam.
I mean, it's either Burrows or Farmer, but
ain't no or. But go ahead.
I mean, it is the or. I mean, dude had almost 500 yards and 10 total touchdowns. I mean, yeah, defense was optional for Kinston, but I mean, Lord, Farmer. I'm gonna go Farmer.
I've never seen a kid have that much time to pass in a football game. Chris, go ahead.
I think I would go with Burrows. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Sam.
I'm going with the Shelby quarterback. Sorry.
Shelby QB. Can't go wrong with that. Hales.
You've loved him all year. I'm Team Burrows for this one, too. Give me the multi-sport kid.
Thank you. Gary.
Burrows.
I'm Watauga. I'm at the move to Watauga. We got to bring Watauga back in the cover there. I'm going to go cover some Watauga game. All right, Gary, biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise. That Millbrook didn't score.
Okay. Hales.
Huff, you got it done. We've been waiting, Huff. We've been waiting.
You know what Baker said? Man. Baker must have said this to me 20 times after the game. Like I said, make sure you say, what are they going to say now? He kept saying that. What are they going to say now? No more Huff questions. No more Huff questions.
We're going to say congratulations. Do it again next year. Yeah. But no, that's it, man. Congratulations, Huff. You finally shut us all up. It's been 15 years in the making. My biggest surprise is, Huff, you finally got it done.
All right. Griner. That's going to be a social media clip, by the way, Hales, but go ahead.
That was good. That was real good. I would say not the biggest surprise, though. Shoot. I'm no longer the coach at West Charlotte.
Not a big surprise.
I'm no longer the coach at West Charlotte during the same time.
All right. Chris.
That's a tough one. I'm going to say
it's really not. Somebody scored 125 points in the football game.
I'm knowing those two teams. I don't think that's a surprise.
You thought that somebody's going to score 125 points in the state championship game?
I want to say my surprise is that Tarboro was shut out 0-0 first half of that game against Murphy.
Okay. Cam.
I was going to go with what Gary said. I mean, knowing Huff's defense, how good it is, it was not a huge surprise. But, I mean, Millbrook, they averaged 39 points a game. I mean,
and
it wasn't a surprise they got shut out.
Well, you hear what Coach Griner said in the East. I'm sorry that we keep stomping on you there, Jim, but what's your biggest surprise?
14 touchdowns in one half between Shelby and Kinston. That surprised me.
That's just insane. All right, it is Christmas time, so I'm just curious, what is everybody thankful for this holiday season? Griner, we'll start with you.
My family, without a doubt. A lot of turmoil, but my faith in my family remains the same, rock solid, no matter what. Still love Dad. Even when I come home, my kids. So unbelievable thankful for that. And I'm thankful for this group too, and especially Hales being a part of this team now. Like, that was a huge – we needed Hales, and very thankful for Hales coming on the show and being part of this. He's been a huge addition, no doubt.
For those of you that don't know, Sam outkicked his coverage of Miss Connie. That's just way out of his league.
No doubt.
I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a winner, no matter what with that.
Hales, what are you most thankful for this holiday season?
Just the same thing, Sam, is of course, family. Like I said, I got to see my son graduate Friday night. So another Hales with another degree. So that's great. And I'm happy for that and our health and all that. But, likewise, I'm thankful for this group, because obviously I've known all of you guys in different capacities over the years. But, the one thing I wish that everybody knew is just how much, and really talking about, Jim and Kim and Gary and Chris here, how much time you guys put in. It's easy for Sam and I to get up here talking about 7A, 8A football. But, you guys and Dale as well. I know Dale's not with us tonight. But down to the 1As, the 2As, and just the depth of knowledge that you guys have of the schools around the state and how much you invest in that. And then Langston, I'm thankful for you for keeping this whole thing under control, however you do, because every person on here would talk for the entire 90 minutes or 2 hours if you didn't stop us from doing it. So
one guy who would do it the most is here tonight, but yes, correct.
That's true. And then Sam, just to you, two things about you that I already know that I know you're going to be just fine is, I always talk to kids about the best compliment you can give a player isn't how big he is or how fast or how strong he is, but how tough he is. Sam Griner, that's what they say about you, buddies. You got some thick skin because you get it here on the show. You get it from everybody. But the other thing is you got a great sense of humor. That's going to carry you through a lot of things. So, I'm thankful for this group. This has turned into one of my favorite teams to be on and look forward to doing this for a long time.
I love to hear that. Long time. I love to hear that. Gary, what are you thankful for?
Pay the talent.
Pay the talent.
I'm most thankful for good health. My good health and my family's good health. Last year I was on here with shades because I couldn't see out of one eye.
That's true. That is true. One eye Willie over here.
Yeah. Well, who stole my daddy's records with them dark glasses I had on? But yeah, that's an old scene from 70s.
I know.
Somebody stole my daddy's records. But good health, for me and my family, I'm always thankful for good health. The older you get, the more appreciative you are of good health.
This is very true. Jim.
Well, my faith. You got to always have to have faith. I'm always thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for the Green Bay Packers.
And the Green Bay Packers.
In all seriousness, I have obviously my faith and family big time. Green Bay Packers, not so much. But I will say, though, it's always great. I'm so thankful that I live in this country. I'm very thankful I live in North Carolina. And although our football is not as good as the West, I'm thankful I live in the eastern part of the state. It's a great place to be here. I'm thankful for my friends here on here. I've got to make some new friends and renew some old ones, it's great to have everybody together. And I wish Dale was with us right now because he's obviously a big part of the family. So just thankful for all of you.
Absolutely. Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, it's been beat up a little bit, but no, I'm going to say thankful for this group and the resilience of this group. Because I mean, if you think about just some of the things we go through, obviously Sam's deal, and just last week, going up to Greensboro, I had to deal with some junk there, and then my car has issues on the way home. Jim texted us just today having an issue with in his whatever Jim's issue was. I remember he texted us earlier about it, and just we all go through so many different things, and we all pick up each other's slack when we have to miss. And like Dale tonight, he's recovering from a serious surgery that he's still on medication for. But the resilience of this group to provide the best possible high school football coverage to the state, I just think that's something to be appreciative of.
Chris,
I'm gonna make Sam laugh on this one, but the fact that I no longer ever again have to get on a dating app and try to swipe left or right. Very, very, very thankful for that.
That is so true. That man was on every app there was. Man, I got to get a screenshot of that.
All things considered, though, I am very fortunate to have outkicked my coverage, so to speak, and married a beautiful woman and got great kids. I have to admit, I've lost a marriage because of my relentless pursuit of covering football and chasing football and covering the state the way I did. And, sometimes that comes with a cost, and sometimes you got to be thankful for the good blessings the good Lord gives you. And I'm very thankful to have some great kids that love me and that do the right thing. So, thankful for that. Also thankful for just this team and the ability to cover the state. All I've ever wanted to do since 1978 or 79 is go to high school football games. And I've been really fortunate over my time to be able to do what I love. And, it's come with, troubles at times and, but all in all, I'm where I want to be in life and just thankful for you men.
When I was at Chapel Hill in the 80s, I was about 30 pounds lighter and had hair. And, I always wished to have a wife, 2 kids, and a picket fence. And God gave me a wife, 2 kids, and a picket fence. And I'm very thankful for that. My wife, Whitney, puts up with me because I work all the time. You guys have no idea. And I work at night. And, you guys are out having a good time, I'm working. And I love what I do, don't get me wrong. But, she allows me to do that. And I couldn't do what I do. Couldn't host this show without my wife. I'm also thankful for you guys. Sam and I started this show years ago doing Instagram. We joke about it all the time. You remember that, Sam? Sam would be standing in front of a tree.
Yeah, I look like it right now.
Yeah.
Like with this
and the show was horrible. And then we started doing it on Zoom, and it was horrible. And then we discovered StreamYard, and it got a whole lot better. And adding Chris to the show. Chris and I have known each other forever, and I've always revered Chris. I always thought in my mind he was the best high school football person there is, and I call him number 1 voice high school football. You guys see it. So happy to get Jim involved. He's probably number 2 voice high school football.
He's
and
number 1
get it every week. And having Cam, the young guy, and the kids relate to him. I go with Cam to these games, and Ethan Royal will send them texts like, you always got the first interview. The kids gravitate to him, and getting Gary on. Gary called me one day, said, "Let me come on the show." I was like, okay. And he does basketball now with us and football, and he's been on the show. We've been all together for so many years now, and I think we've gotten a good rapport. And I tease Sam all the time, and I heard him talk about he enjoyed going to the playoffs a couple years ago when he had to go to Hickory and Greensboro. He did not say Cleveland County. You guys did hear that.
I might show a different interview. Now. I can't beat them. I might join them.
All right, but most of all, I'm thankful for all of you that watch the show. This year, our ratings have gone up about 50%. And I'm just, really thankful that you guys tune in all the ways you can watch. And I hear, from parents and kids that you watch the show, you enjoy the show. I met an 8th grade young man in Chapel Hill, very impressive, that wants to be a part of the show. We're going to try to get him on next year. So, the show's going to grow and get bigger, and I can't wait to get started. Dale might try to talk me into doing something in the spring. We'll see. But we do have basketball coming in January. We come back from the break. All right, so before we got here, we got to put the big man in the dark in his one shot. Your final thoughts?
Appreciate that. My final thoughts are just what an amazing season with you guys, and looking forward to the holiday season, just to be around the family. And I get to go home to I made a lasagna soup. I'm super excited about right now that I'm about to go home to. And look how this is my volleyball star right here. Say hey, Charlie.
What's up, Charlie Bells?
Hey, Hales, we're gonna still do that skit, you know. Will Smith, baby, bad boys, chitty chitty bang bang.
So for all you wanted is Sam, if all you wanted is Sam Grider, okay, he's all right. He's gonna be all right. All right.
I want to know what makes lasagna soup. Just say you put too much sauce in, Sam.
Everybody's making lasagna.
It's so good. It's so good. I'm gonna show you a picture. I'm gonna send you a picture.
Hell, I see that.
Hey Sam, does it have meat in it? You know,
Yes,
on this
guys,
big
I've been
thing.
eating like pause. I've been eating meat for the last 4 years.
I'm glad you said
He's got a forever meat lasagna.
Yeah.
Forever meat lasagna soup with too much soup.
Beyond the beef lasagna.
All right, so we're getting off the rails. It's time to sign off. But that is Sam Grider, he's still a 2-time state champion. That is Brian Hales, a 3-time state champion. That's Cameron Williams, the guru in training. That's Jim West, our Eastern North Carolina correspondent. Gary Richmond, the retired CMS teacher, and the #1 voice of high school football, the glue of our show, Chris Hughes. I'm Langston, and we are done for the year. Talking Preps.